So every year in October, our church calls us to consider more deeply why every human life is valuable and to reflect on how to build a culture of life that protects life from conception to natural death. Every life is so precious. Many have painted the pro-life movement as people that don't care about the rights of women, and that couldn't be further from the truth. I know that our church very clearly recognizes the gift of a woman's ability to nurture and bring forth new life as a special gift to her from God. I'm so thankful that I can stand before you here today where most people thought in our lifetime we would not ever see Roe versus Wade being overturned. The prayers of so many people have been and are currently being answered, and we should definitely be encouraged by that. Prayer is so important, and it helps us see our world through the lens of God. Today, all of our readings and call us to pray with humility, recognizing our total dependence on God for everything, recognizing that the gifts we have are to be shared, and especially among the poor and the oppressed. Our first reading from the book of Sirach gives us confidence to turn to God with all our needs, assuring us that the Lord is a God of justice who knows no favorites. Though not unduly partial to the weak, yet he hears the cry of the oppressed. Whether rich or powerful or poor and obscure, our loving Father delights in hearing from all of his children. And why? Why is that? It's because we are all his favorites. And that is very, very good news, my friends. That news is meant to be shared. We are to humble ourselves before God, like the tax collector in our gospel, not like the Pharisee with pride, but so that God will hear and answer our prayers. Our psalm today says that the Lord hears the cry of the poor, and the most poor and oppressed of our society, I would say, is the unborn. In my research, and I came across an astounding statistic that was a few years back, but it said that 1 in 4 women in New York have had an abortion. An argument that, wow, I mean, that is astounding, kind of shocking. And there's an argument that's popular among pro-abortionists about what about rape and incest? And even that is sacred, but only that represents really only 1.5% of abortions are due to rape or incest. While abortions are beginning to decline, it's still relevant and occurs way too much. When I researched this a few years ago, I found that at that time there was almost 61 million children at that time that had perished in our country alone from abortion since Roe v. Wade. And that is actually, here's what that means. That means that 1 in every 23 seconds, in the span of this 20-minute mass so far, that means that almost 50 children have perished. Real freedom, my brothers and sisters, is only based on the truth. And the truth about the unborn child is that God has made him or her in his image and likeness. God has formed us and formed each one of you in the womb, infused all of us with a human soul, and that soul is called to eternal communion with him. As Psalm 139 says, that in the secret of darkness in my mother's womb, you formed me. And Jesus commanded us to that whatsoever we do to the least of our brothers and sisters, we do or fail to do to him. The unborn is the least of these, my brothers and sisters. They have no voice. What we do or fail to do with regard to the unborn, we most definitely fail or do to Jesus. This is a teaching that we have received with certainty. Please make no mistake about this teaching. I recently lost my dad a few months ago. My dad, he was an only child. His mother died at his birth. In fact, my grandfather, his mother died also from complications of childbirth. So there were actually 2 generations where a mother died from birth complications. But I want you to just think about this and look at the effect of one life. My dad died at 95. He had 6 children, 29 grandchildren, 39 great-grandchildren, and 1 great-great-grandchild. All these came from the life of one person. Wow. So you might be sitting there and saying, well, okay, Deacon, so where do we go from here? And the first thing that I would say is that we need to pray and to sacrifice. We need to pray and fast for the women who are being tempted by false friends and the devil to have an abortion. And we need to pray that they might be delivered from this evil. We also need to pray for the conversion of the doctors and the nurses who do this ghastly work of abortion. We need to pray and sacrifice for the conversion of legislators and executives and judges who promote abortion. And we need to pray for those women who have had abortions that they may come to receive God's infinite, merciful, loving forgiveness and receive his strength then to minister to other women who are in dangerous and difficult pregnancies so that they may not make the same disastrous choice. We need to pray for all the unborn and unbaptized children in the Lord, that our Lord may treat them like the holy innocents and take them to himself. And next, we need to tell the young women that you know that if they ever find themselves in a difficult pregnancy, and that you will support them and help them choose life. Moms and dads, this is your opportunity. This is your chance. When you are to explain, you can explain to your sons and daughters, when you are explaining to them about the birds and the bees and the importance of remaining faithful to God and to their future spouse by saving themselves for marriage, please also tell them that if they ever happen to sin, and that leads to pregnancy, that you will never be ashamed of them, and that you will always love and support them and your new grandson or your granddaughter. Please live out your pro-life convictions. Get involved. Think about going down to pray peacefully at the various abortion clinics and within driving distance. That's actually going to happen next weekend, and the information's in our bulletin, and you can join with other men and women for our parish. Men, I would encourage you to get involved in the Knights of Columbus. And Walking with Moms in Need is another great program that it's another way for you to get involved, and it enables you to know the importance and to listen to them and to help them along their way and to help them with the necessities of life for themselves and for their children. And finally, I would say pray the rosary. The rosary is so powerful. The Blessed Virgin Mary is a powerful intercessor for us. She underwent many trials in bringing Christ into the world and caring for him, including poverty, misunderstanding from the people closest to her, and sometimes even danger. Yet God was always with her. My dad is an example of what one life means to the world. One life brought so many other lives into the world. One life makes a difference, and it's worth fighting for. Every child is a blessing from God, regardless of the circumstances of his or her conception. All human life is sacred